All right, everyone, get ready because today we've got something really interesting to talk about. So, you might have heard about Matthew McConaughey making headlines recently, for kind of shutting down Joy Behar on The View. I mean, it was pretty unexpected, right? Let's dive into this story because, well, it's one that's got a lot of layers to it. First things first, let's set the stage. Matthew McConaughey, the Oscar-winning actor, known for his Southern charm and all right catchphrase, appeared on The View, a popular daytime talk show. You know, The View, right? It's that panel show where they discuss politics, current events, and sometimes things get a little heated. Anyway, Matthew was there, and it was, quite a moment. So, here's the deal. McConaughey has been pretty active recently in speaking out about some important issues, especially gun violence. After a tragic school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, his hometown, he became especially vocal.
Spoken against violence and gun violence in particular. And you're Texan, and you spoke so passionately at the White House last year in the wake of that shooting at Robb Elementary in your hometown of
That's why we're wearing these little pens, right?
And now you have launched the Greenlights Grant Initiative to help make schools safer.
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Thank you for the opportunity to. So what we found out after what happened at Robb Elementary and many other schools, the first bill was passed in 30 years to help make schools safer, Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, billions of dollars to safen schools. What I find out months after the bill's been passed is that very few applications are going in from the school districts. And for those that are applying, very few are getting granted and awarded. So the money's still there. And we're like, wait, where's the gap?
I mean, how can he not be, right? It struck so close to home for him, literally. Now, McConaughey, he's not your typical Hollywood figure. He's, well, kind of a moderate.
I think I was sitting in just the right seat. He was coming down the stairs. I was on the back right up top, so there I was.
You and Camilla have 3 kids. Levi, who's 15,
Yes.
Vita, 13, and Livingston, 10.
Yes.
What kind of dad are you? That's a probably loaded
Kind of
question.
dad.
I'm a good dad.
We got 20 minutes for this answer. I'm working on it. Look, being a dad was the only thing that I ever knew I wanted to be. I knew that at 8 years old. I remember shaking hands with my dad's friend who he would introduce me to, and he was a big sirs and ma'ams man. And I noticed that everyone I would say yes, sir, to over the years when I was 8, I was like, oh, the one thing that's common is they're all fathers. Maybe that's why I'm calling them sir. And I was like, that's my aspiration. That's when you become a sir as a man. And that was my idea when I was 8, and I still believe it in a lot of ways.
Some might even call him a centrist. Anyway, he advocates for what he calls responsible gun ownership. He thinks things like background checks should be standard. Raising the age to purchase assault rifles seems reasonable to him, and he's all about those red flag laws. Maybe some of you agree, maybe not, but that's kind of what he's standing for.
We need responsible gun ownership. Responsible gun ownership. We need background checks. We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them. These are reasonable, practical, tactical regulations to our nation, states, communities, schools, and homes. Responsible gun owners are fed up with the Second Amendment being abused and hijacked by some deranged individuals. These regulations are not a step back. They're a step forward for a civil society and the Second Amendment.
The View, however, tends to have, these strong viewpoints, especially Joy Behar. She's one of the regular hosts and isn't shy about expressing her opinions, usually quite liberal ones. So naturally, when McConaughey appeared on the show, Behar saw an opportunity to challenge him. During one of the segments, it got, pretty interesting. Joy asked Matthew if he thought he could win as a politician in Texas, while holding views that she hinted were anti-gun. And Matthew, looking all cool and composed, didn't fall into the trap.
Y'all know, those of you who have children, you find out that DNA means a lot more than you thought it did after you have kids. They come out who they are.
Are they like you?
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And but they're all very particular and different as well.
They're
So
all
we
different.
shepherd them along as parents with an environment does matter a lot. But boy, they are who they are.
Yeah.
The same things I was writing about their peculiarities when they were 2. they match with who they are, what I'm writing about them today.
I want to applaud you for being so outspoken against violence and gun violence in particular. And you're Texan, and you spoke so passionately at the White House last year in the wake of that shooting at Robb Elementary in your hometown of
That's why we're
Uvalde.
wearing these little pens, right?
Yeah, your wife held up one of the victims' green Converse. Her name was Maite Rodriguez. Her mother, Anna Rodriguez, sent these to
Anti-gun? He replied with a bemused smile. It was almost like you could see the wheels turning in his head as he chose his words carefully. He was like, if you're expecting a yes or no answer, I'm not here to play that game. Boom! Without raising his voice or getting defensive, Matthew made his stance very clear. He wasn't there to be a soundbite or to play into anyone's showboating. And let me tell you, it worked. The audience, well, they were taken by surprise. And, Behar didn't really have a comeback for that.
I think I could get elected in Texas being anti-gun. One thing about if me in politics is to give you a direct statement right there is be playing a game that I'm not interested in playing.
Okay,
to give you a direct statement right there.
Instead, McConaughey carried on explaining that his stance on gun ownership isn't about taking away rights.
Well, we found out that these superintendents have to fill out these grants to the government. A lot of them are driving the school bus and they're the PE teacher, and this grant process is 50 pages and it's intimidating.
Wow.
And I don't know about y'all, but I have trouble making it through filling a custom card out without having to scratch stuff out. It is intimidating, so they don't have the expertise at the time. The government wants these grants to be filed. They want to spend the money. It's use it or lose it money. And if we don't spend that money that the government has by 2026, it could be reallocated.
It's about protecting life while respecting the Second Amendment. You could see he was really passionate about finding solutions that work for everyone, you know? Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about another key part of McConaughey's mission, the Greenlights Grant Initiative. So, after that tragic shooting at Robb Elementary, Matthew and his wife Camila launched this initiative to make schools safer. They want to use government funds effectively to ensure this doesn't happen again. Here's the frustrating part. McConaughey found out that there's lots of money set apart to improve school safety, billions worth. But guys, barely any of it is used. Why? Well, in most places, school administrators are overwhelmed. They're having to juggle a lot more responsibilities, and these grant applications are super complicated. They're 50 pages long. Seriously, it's no wonder they're hesitant. To overcome this, McConaughey and his team are working on simplifying the process for these schools, making it easier to apply and access the funds they need. He wants to bridge that gap, to make a real impact. He sees it as a use it or lose it situation with this funding. If schools don't tap into these resources by 2020, the money will disappear or be allocated elsewhere. Now, some of you might be wondering, why does this matter? Well, it's all timed intricately with McConaughey's growing involvement in public welfare and policy advocacy. There's even been talk of him considering a political career. Imagine that. Would it be in Texas? Maybe. However, right now, he's focused on initiatives like Greenlights, which are direct responses to pressing issues. I mean, he's really out there trying to make a difference, not just opting for the easy way out by critiquing the system without action. Returning to The View, Matthew's calm yet firm response highlighted a big issue with polarizing debates. The us versus them mentality that so often divides Americans. He didn't let himself get pegged into one side or the other. It's refreshing, really. It shows he's less about labels and more about practical, logic-driven solutions. And, well, McConaughey's gesture and words clearly emphasize the need for more thoughtful discussion on these issues, rather than the usual confrontational debates we often see. He turned what's often a quite divisive topic into an opportunity for constructive dialogue. And, well, that's not something you see every day. It's conversations like these that can actually help us move forward as a society. So, what do you think? Is McConaughey's approach to societal problems something that resonates with you? Do you agree with how he handled himself on national television, on a platform as debated as The View? I mean, it's kind of inspiring to see someone use their fame, not just to promote their latest movie, but to actually get people talking about issues that matter. Anyway, like I said at the beginning, this story has many layers, but fundamentally, it gives us a glimpse into how someone like Matthew McConaughey is choosing to navigate the complex intersection between celebrity, advocacy, and politics in our modern world. And isn't it fascinating how some of Hollywood's brightest stars are stepping up in unpredictable ways? Matthew, with his Greenlights Initiative, might just be paving the way for a new wave of celebrity activism that isn't tied to party lines, but rather to practical solutions. So yeah, that's the scoop. I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are on this. Drop them in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.